I'm not gonna lie, Katana Zero surprised me a little bit. Going into this title, most of what early trailers showed off was another Devolver blood and acid trip soaked slasher, and I would have been content with just an action-packed good time, but Katana Zero aims to be more than just that, also offering a more nuanced dialogue system and taking a stab at a deeper, more interesting narrative than you might expect at first glance. And today, we're gonna take a look at how it all came together. As always, I'm Alex, and this is First 5, where I ask if games are worth your time, not your money. I played a game for 5 hours, and I'm going to tell you if those were 5 hours well spent. And today, we're becoming the dragon in Katana Zero. I would make that joke again about Devolver being back on their bullshit, but I don't think they ever got off of it. Katana Zero is 100% what you'd expect from this publisher. It's action-packed, stylish as hell, supremely violent, has impeccable art direction, and is a stiff challenge where you're always on the razor's edge of death. It's also surprisingly in-depth with its story, which follows a contract killer dubbed the Dragon through the worst 10 days of his life. He's got this cool ability to manipulate time, seems to be on some sort of government leash, and is more than a little unstable. And to complicate his life, he's stuck on some kind of drug he can only get from his contractor, recently found himself having to take care of a little girl that's latched onto him, and has been the recipient of a prophecy of doom. Suffice to say, this guy's got a lot more to worry about than just getting his nightly assassination work done, but mostly he just spends his time killing people. On balance, it's a pretty bleak story where nothing good happens to anyone involved, but it's definitely competently executed, and while the individual plot points might not be revolutionary, the mechanical ways the game allows you to interact with the narrative are. A lot of Devolver-published games have an extraordinary amount of physical violence in them, but Katana Zero sets itself apart by doing something rare for a game by also gamifying verbal and emotional violence. Almost every dialogue scene in the game gives you this timer to pick a dialogue choice, and if you wait until you get to the white part of the bar, you can give a calm, measured response to whoever you're talking to. But if you want to have zero chill, you almost always have the option to respond during the red section, and when you do that, the dragon interrupts whatever's being said by shouting down his conversation partner. Do it consistently, and you start sounding the part of the deranged, unstable mass murderer that the world envisions you as. Now, mechanically, that system itself might not sound all that revolutionary, but the little details elevate it into something special. Your shouted interruptions violently shatter other speech bubbles, the same way murdering someone mid-sentence does. The dialogue itself is more confrontational and always in red, and all of it is underscored by the fact that you're playing a deeply unstable individual, which gives verbal interruptions some impact that you wouldn't find in another game. Someone with more time on their hands than I have should really be doing a video essay talking about how this game works with dialogue because it is stellar. But despite the dialogue's brilliance, it's far from the game's primary draw. You're still mostly going to want to come to this game for its pulse-pounding action. And man, is it slick. Katana Zero's mechanics are pretty straightforward. You can slash, dodge roll, chuck things at enemies, and if you get in a tight spot, slow time down. This is another one of those games with simple inputs where the fun is largely derived from the enemy and level design instead. So, let's talk about that level design for a hot second. Katana Zero's first few levels kind of have a "what, that's it?" feeling to them, where you effortlessly slash your way through a bunch of goons that try to take your katana-wielding badass on with their bare fists. But once you start going through the game's final challenges, you realize just how restrained Katana Zero has to keep its encounter design just to remain playable. Anyone with a gun in this game is extraordinarily deadly, and for the most part you only have the tools and enough time to take out 2 gun-toting enemies before you eat a bullet to the back. So encounter design by necessity has to stay small. A lot of endgame encounters are about figuring out how to juggle a 3rd or 4th threat, and even just 3 guys can provide a pretty stiff challenge if they've got the right placement and combination of weapons. But when you memorize the enemy patterns in a given level, my god, do you feel exactly like the badass this game wants you to be. If I'm being honest, I actively avoided using the slow time function whenever I could because it felt like it broke up that almost kinetic momentum you build sprinting through these levels, hacking people apart as you go. And that rush of momentum is what makes this game so damn fun. The game itself is restrained, yes, but it's all to let you run wild. With simple controls that stay out of your way and encounter design that purposely holds itself back to give you room to shine. This isn't a game that wants to force you to carefully consider your options, bait or kite enemies, and play cautiously. It wants you to get in there and mess something up, and almost everything in the game facilitates that playstyle. But on that rousing note, let's ask, what do you get out of 5 hours with Katana Zero? The answer is pretty easy this time around. Everything. It takes about 4 hours to reach the credits, and it's a damn good ride getting there. Katana Zero delivers everything you could want from its blood-soaked, balls-to-the-wall action premise, while also delivering a surprisingly engaging story. That story is incomplete, however, ending with a semi-abrupt to-be-continued and a note to come back in a few months for the rest. But I can wholeheartedly recommend Katana Zero. It's fun from start to finish, oozes with style, and delivers everything it promises and more. And just as importantly, it does it all in a few short but supremely satisfying hours. If you're a fan of high-octane action or just really want a game you can finish in an evening or two, you're not going to want to pass this one up. But, you know, if you've already checked out Katana Zero, there's also more Devolver-y goodness in the recent Ape Out, which I covered in my most recent quarterly wrap-up. You also might want to check out my review of Rival Megagun, a head-to-head shmup with a similar ethos where you're a glass cannon that dies in a single hit but blows through a million enemies. Either way, I hope you enjoyed this first 5 review. If you did, maybe consider hitting that subscribe button. If you're looking for games that value your time and don't pad themselves, I'm your guy. Thanks for watching this far, and I'll see you all next week.